Welcome to Unscripted Believe at Noon, the podcast on Noon Miracle, where we sit down for real conversations that reveal the miracle in all of us. I'm your host, Amy Goldberg, joined by my amazing co-host, Violet Fink, and today we're excited to welcome our guest, Cathy Wippell. Each episode, we get to know someone new, and not just what they do, but who they are. By simply talking and listening, it's all about connection, curiosity, and discovering the magic that lives in all of us. So let's dive in. This is Believe at Noon. Well, Cathy, welcome to Believe at Noon. Thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks so much.
We first want to kind of, it's kind of nice to set the tone. And before we kind of dive into your craft and share with the world what you're doing, I wanted to ask you, what's kind of one belief you hold close that keeps you grounded when life or auditions get really messy?
I think persist is basically sort of chin up and persist. Maybe having come from quite a British household, chin up is quite a commonly used term, but it does help, especially when you're feeling a bit down on yourself or things aren't going how you imagined them. Just remaining open and seeing success in different ways as well. I think persistence and not having one idea of what success is.
I think success can be defined in so many different ways that ultimately when you allow yourself to reshape your perception of it. I mean, what does success look like to you right now, Cathy? What's one of your definitions?
I think and you'll get this as well, having come from a sort of acting background, when you start acting, you're like, oh, I guess success looks like being on the red carpet at Cannes and and all of this. But I'm someone who, I don't think I'd love to be famous. I'd love to be successful. I think there's a difference. And I think successful people are people who have confidence in the art that they're creating and who have a real tenacity for needing to make the art that they're creating, because I think it's easy for people to get swept up in, especially as an actor, when you're auditioning and sort of you don't have a lot of agency over your own career in many ways, which is why I started producing and writing. It's really important to sort of get little bits of what you do have a bit of control over and sort of redefine how success looks for you, because it doesn't look the same for everyone.
How did you get involved in this? Tell us your kind of a little bit of backstory so our listeners and viewers sort of get a sense of marvelous you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think basically, so I never thought I'd become a filmmaker. I wanted to be an illustrator when I was little for a really long time, from when I basically could draw to probably 16, 17. And then I made a friend at my school who was really into musical theatre. I was a really quiet child. I did not like drama, musical theatre, anything like that. But I made this friend and she made me come to this musical theatre course with her. And when we did it, I had a lot of fun, basically. And people were really nice about what I was doing. And then after that, I auditioned for National Youth Theatre, and I got really interested in acting because I'm really interested in human behavior and what makes people say and do the things that they say and do. And I think through that, I sort of transitioned to writing and acting, because they go hand in hand as well. I think actors often make good dialogue writers for sure, because you can sort of play out scenarios in your head. But filmmaking, I actually got into it because of COVID, weirdly, because I was doing drama and English at the University of Manchester. COVID hit. I was doing a contemporary performance module and we had to do it in other formats because obviously you couldn't do theatre. So I made a piece of video art, and then I sort of transitioned that way and sort of started to get interested in filmmaking and did a film course, made loads of friends, really liked the ethos of sort of how many people it takes to make a film and collaborating in that way. Whereas theatre is very actor-led, it's all about the performance, etc. The film is also about the shots, how the shot looks, what does the production designer do? There are so many moving parts to it, and I found that really exciting.
It's definitely a really compelling thing to be able to create your own world and be in control of all of that. I think as an actor, it can be really easy to just step into a world that someone else has created. But when you're pulling all of those elements together, it's really kind of inspiring to look at what you yourself are doing. Is there a world that you've created that you've just been in love with? Because I have an answer for a world that you created that I'm in love with, and you should know because I keep coming to the shows. But what about you?
Um, I think it's funny. I love any narrative world, I think. I think there's always so many interesting things you could do as a character in a different space. I think as someone as well who was very introverted growing up, I don't know if you guys were as well, but creativity was really like a safe space for me to be someone else and to be a confident version of myself when I didn't feel confident in who I was. And that was like quite a beautiful thing. I'm getting a little bit emotional. But essentially like yeah, like having those spaces, and everyone needs those spaces, I think, whether you work in the creative arts or not, but having somewhere where you can just pretend and play for a little bit. And we're very lucky to be able to call that our livelihoods and careers. And I'm just thankful every single day I work in this, even though it's so hard, what we're doing. Like it's so nice to be able to do what we love, even if it's difficult. But I think in terms of a world I've created, yeah, I think you're talking about this solo show, which I have called Cabaret for the End of the World, which is a funny one. I love that that's your favorite world because because it's a
It's
world
just
plagued by the
well,
apocalypse.
yeah, but I love Montpellier and how she just commands the world that she has ended up in and is pretty angry about being in. But ultimately, she's a cockroach, and I love that about her.
Yeah, I think
Is
that
this something you
definitely.
created, Kathy? Like, is this something you wrote?
Yes, so it's a solo show with music. I play the accordion, and it's essentially a little cabaret. It's an hour-long play, which I've performed in various venues across London and might be taken to the Edinburgh Fringe. We'll see if it pulls through. But it's essentially an exploration of when we have absolutely nothing left, how do we find meaning in sort of what we're the cards we're dealt essentially. And Monselier is this character, the last accordionist of the apocalypse. So the play has a very sort of satirical, very dark humor feel to it. But it does have quite a hopeful message to it at the core of it as well. Because I love horror, I love dark genre work.
No, I was going to ask you, that is your genre, isn't it? It's horror films for
Yes.
somebody that's very, perhaps reserved as a child, or like, where did that come from? Where did that want and desire to do that come from?
It's really funny. I never thought, oh, I'm gonna make horror films. Like at no point did I wake up one day and go, yes, gonna make post-apocalypse, dark comedy, horrors. I think basically where it really came from is I started to get very involved with activism at university. I've always been quite interested in the Gothic sort of sphere. I saw Phantom of the Opera when I was 13, and I got really obsessed with all the old Hollywood horrors like Dracula, Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, all of that. I don't know why, something in them I just found really interesting. I think it was this element of, the creature, often the misunderstood, the supernatural. Where does a human being fit in those spaces? And I'm making myself sound really intellectual. When I was 13, I just really liked Dracula and Frankenstein. But I think like I got really involved with activism at uni, and we live in a world which is just so full of information, and we if something bad is going on in the world, we probably know about it because information is so accessible nowadays. Yes, information gets warped, and I'm very interested in misinformation and fake news as well. But something really interesting is that I don't think as human beings we're ever meant to deal with this much information. And we often feel so overwhelmed, and to be honest, it can feel horrific at times, all these issues in the world, and you feel quite powerless. And so a lot of the films we make at Silicon Gothic with my producing partner Joseph Archer, they tackle modern day issues as monsters. So we essentially look at, climate change, how can we make that into a monster? Water pollution, how can we make that into a monster? To make it more digestible and tangible in a world which feels really overwhelming. Yeah, that's essentially, I think, why I got into horror. Because you're right, like people talk to me. I have it often at if we go to Cannes Film Festival or other film markets, and they go, "Oh yeah, what sort of films do you work in?" And I go, "Oh, I do horror films," and everyone's like, yeah, it's quite funny. But yeah, I think it's dark genre stuff is always interesting. It's really interesting. It's got like a really big fan base as well.
Yeah,
And
it's huge. And Cathy, the water pollution one that you're currently working on, are you able to talk about that? Because I
yes,
just think it's fantastic that you are using art to help communicate a message that people just clearly are not getting.
thank you. Yeah, it's essentially a folk horror film. So inspired by the 70s British folk horrors like The Wicker Man. But it's essentially set in a village tainted by the effects of bad water. So it's a modern take on the genre. We're very lucky to have a really good team attached, including Stephen Fry is involved as an executive producer, and he also plays a voiceover role in it. We've got BAFTA winner Kathy Tyson and amazing upcoming star Ishtar Curry Wilson is playing the leading role in the film. And Black Samphire is essentially a statement on the crisis of water pollution in the UK, because it is a crisis. Our rivers and seas are being polluted by privatized water companies. And I, as someone who is quite involved with water, I'm an open water swimmer, I did not know half the stuff I know bef now, like before we started this project, because we were lucky enough to be chatting with River Action UK, who also helped us make the short film and are a big part of the feature film as well. And working with a charity on a horror film as well is quite an interesting, fun thing. But they've been amazing, and just learning about these big, massive issues in a more sort of digestible way through a narrative story, it's something that has really like kept my passion alive for making the project. It's been a long, I mean, I say long, we've only really been working on it for a year, and indie feature films, they can take up to 10 years to produce, as we know. But I think it's just been such an amazing journey, even the year that we've had on it. And we're very lucky to have a very exciting band of people attached to it.
Wow. And I heard open water swim. Is that your way of relaxing?
Yes, I would say that makes me relax a lot. It's pretty much better than anything else for me. I think during lockdown I did a lot of open water swimming because my parents are based in West Sussex, and near the sea, and it was just like the best way to sort of feel like you're just taking a moment. I think there's something about getting in cold water that the body sort of goes, oh, and it sort of forces your brain to sort of revamp itself a little bit.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cathy, I know that a lot of your inspiration has come from your activist work. Is there anything else that you find particularly inspiring these days?
Yeah, I would say fast fashion is definitely something we want to make something about. We do have a couple of ideas in the works. Another one is microplastics, which I don't think
Yeah.
is really talked about at all in modern media. And for me, it's such a big thing because I'm like, microplastics are in our food, and that really disturbs me. And that's something that wasn't a thing 50 years ago, or more. And yeah, I definitely want to do a bit more research into that and find out a bit more about that. I have a sort of TV series idea, which I'm developing based on microplastics.
I've got a
Um,
tidbit for you.
yeah.
The first fetus was found in a womb with microplastics already like embedded somewhere in it.
Yeah.
I believe this has grown into a baby that does now live. But it was the first case of microplastics being in something that had not even come into contact with the outside world.
Yeah.
So that's pretty horrifying.
Yeah, because they're in our bloodstream, and I feel like that can't
Yeah.
be good. So yeah, we definitely need to talk a bit more about that. I definitely want to make something which circulates that as an issue.
Cathy, would you move into documentary filmmaking or docudramas, or is that something that you're interested in?
It's funny, it's funny you say that. I pretty much only watch documentaries right now. Like I really, really love documentaries. I consume a lot of documentaries, more than horror films. I easily watch more documentaries than I've watched horror films in my life. But I think as a maker, I would definitely be interested in like shadowing a documentary, seeing how they're made. The idea of editing a documentary is something that is terrifying to me because you must get so much footage. And I'm very used to like, oh, we shoot what we need, maybe a bit more than we need, but we just cut a few little bits.
It's very
I
different.
would feel like I'd get so attached to everything. I don't know. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Definitely something I'd love to consider. Yeah, if the opportunity came about.
It's true. How did the two of you meet?
So we met on a film. Vi was playing the lovely goddess Aphrodite, and I was an artist's assistant. And we met, and it was lovely. Yeah.
Where was this?
Oh, this was West London. Where were we?
Yes. Yeah, West London in a sort of art studio. It was very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very cool. It was an atelier over like a mechanic's garage and
Yeah.
across from a pub that was very loud. And so we had a very strong cut-off time because the pub would open up and the music would start blaring from across the road and dogs would get into fights and we just couldn't use the sound
It was
anymore.
really fun. But no, it was really fun. And yeah,
Is
we
this
just
in your
sort of,
professional life or when you were in school, or just sort of give me a sense as to when this was?
This was last year. This was
yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
It was a student film, but we were both established,
yeah,
qualified
actors.
actors.
You've
It
remained
went,
friends ever since.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And Cathy, what drives you? I mean, from the aspect of filmmaking, is there one area, writing, producing, acting, is there something that you lean a little bit more toward?
I think I would probably say it's acting that I lean towards, just because, like what I said before, I'm just sort of fascinated by the way people behave, and why people behave the way that they do, and telling stories with that vehicle is such a cool thing to be able to do. I just think it's so cool. But I do also, I love the writing aspect as well, because that's really where, all my sort of worries about the world or my sort of activism stuff, I can really explore that in the writing, because I can make something which is about something. And yes, everything is about something, but we can make horror films with more of a sort of socio-political edge to them than you might get in sort of your average slasher, or something that's commissioned by a big studio just to sell. We're much more into sort of making something which might have a footprint forever and might inspire people to change the way they look at the world and how they treat the world.
I feel like I've been asking a lot of slightly depressing questions, so I have a nice one. Is there something that you've seen recently that makes you feel hopeful?
Oh, I have an answer for this, but I can't say it.
Under a strict NDA, you cannot speak about your
Yeah,
hope.
yeah.
I'm so sorry.
That's funny.
I saw a really, really wonderful documentary on Netflix actually, called Mountain Queen. And it's about the woman who's climbed Everest the most times. And she is an amazing woman. And just watching that documentary, I was like, it's not just about climbing Everest as well, it's about so much more. It's about escaping an abusive relationship. It's about children and family. And this woman is just amazing, and it's just so inspiring to watch what she's done. And also, we're talking about drive. She's so driven to just keep going back up to like the most dangerous, what is arguably the most dangerous mountain to climb in the world, apart from maybe K2. But it's fascinating about what drives her, and about the fact that it's kind of nature in many ways. And I just find that really beautiful, because it's, she's just someone she's grown up completely surrounded by the epic, like as pretty much as epic as nature can get, growing up in the Nepalese mountains, and then sort of finding her drive from that, and finding her comfort and also her salvation through that. It's a wonderful documentary. I would recommend.
And
Yeah.
who inspires and supports you, Cathy, in the work that you do?
All the filmmakers and actors I know, they're wonderful. And my family as well, they're also very supportive. But especially the people I've been lucky enough to work with, not only on our own projects, but also on other people's projects. Because I think just anything you're doing in the creative arts, like, it is so difficult. You do just need that support network, and it's so nice knowing that I have people around me who get it, and who understand, and who understand that, yes, sometimes you will literally need to work like 24/7 for like 2 months, and you might not be available at all, but that's okay, because you will be back. Like, and just people who understand that sort of challengingness of the time, and also the emotional capacity you might have at one point as well, because it can be hard emotionally, and sometimes you just need to like, you're like, I just want to sit in my bed with a book today, and just not go on my phone, and not answer any messages about films. But yeah, I think having that really supportive network of people around me is just integral. Like, I could not be doing what I'd be doing without the people I'm doing it with.
Yeah, it was so much fun actually to go to the show, to Cabaret for the End of the World, a third time, because
Yes,
I
my
also
third time. That's great.
third time, yeah. But
Wow.
I was looking around the audience, and I was seeing people that I recognized from other shows that Cathy's done, or things that we've worked on together, and there really is just such a lovely network of people who will come together and say, "Oh, you're putting on a show. Oh, I'll be there." And that was, I think, the case every night. I know that Freddie, who was also on the project that we met on, he came the first night, and a couple of other people came in later nights, like Lydia, who I then saw on the Friday. And so like there is this whole lovely group that, you know, are not necessarily friends with each other, but all have Cathy in common and all love to see Cathy succeed, which is just so, so sweet.
That's
Yeah, and
wonderful.
it's so nice when all these people can come together as well. And I'm like, oh, like, so funny that you worked with Lydia literally the Friday after. Because like, Lydia is a contact of mine, and you guys have worked together before, but then like working together again is so funny. And then Lydia sent me a message saying, "Oh, I've just bumped into Hazel," and like, I won't talk about this too long, because no one knows who I'm talking about.
Dangerous road you're going on.
Yeah, but
It sounds like a
so
really
nice.
supportive group. Do you find in the UK, I mean, as far as London or where have you, do you feel the arts are community centric in that way?
Yeah, I think they have to be. I think, it's a very difficult time in film, independent film right now, to get anything financed. It's just borderline impossible. It's not impossible, nothing is, but it's very difficult to do it the traditional way, at least. And I think, yeah, like, out of hard times, strong communities form, acting work is difficult right now. Like, the state of things is difficult. It is quiet, but it's reassuring to have the people around you that, if you do want to make something, you could turn around to them and go, "Hey guys, do you want to, I've got this idea, and I think, is there a way we can do it?" It's really reassuring to know that you have that, and you have people who believe in you and believe in your creative ideas, and who you can collaborate with as well.
I I would definitely agree that you have, I think we have both been lucky with the people that we've met. I think that's not necessarily universally true, and I think there are people who are very much there for themselves and are willing to go to great lengths to ensure that they succeed first. Um, but I would say that we've been very, very lucky to know a lot of people, and I think the majority of whom have been just, I think, fiercely supportive of one another, which is really incredible to see.
Yeah,
That's
and I do
wonderful.
think it's that thing as well of like the energy you put out, you get back.
Yeah.
Because if you're putting out energy of like, oh, it's this big competition and I have to succeed over other people, you'll be friends with those kind of people. And some people prefer it that way, no judgment, but like I'm definitely someone who prefers to have like people around me who can help lift up the things that each one of them is doing. And sort of tell other people about it and bring other people. And no, it's definitely, I think we have been lucky with who we've been in contact with, but also I think, yeah, you give off what you let in as well.
Yeah.
So true. And I know that our time is coming to an end, and I mean, it's so lovely to be able to chat with you about the arts, your creative aspirations. And I want to ask you, because I am fascinated by this. So we are Believe at Noon as part of the bigger picture, which is Noon Miracle. And it's creative, supporting creatives and an expression of one's ability to write, produce, perform, elaborate in some way, spoken word. And I'm just wondering, when I find that it's tough, the creative field is very difficult, and and some decide that they can't support themselves in this area. How do you, how do you support yourself, your living self, financially when you are doing something that you absolutely love? And I think I'm kind of seeking reassurance for our community as well when they ever feel a little, you know, tinge of uncertainty. Anything you can kind of leave us with? I'm not
Yeah,
asking for like the golden thing. It's like,
no. Um, I think, oh, it's so hard. Like financials are so hard being a creative. Um, I'm very lucky in that I live at home, so this really helps me. I'll just be honest. And that really, really helps me. I don't think I'd really be able to be doing what I'm doing right now in the way that I'm doing it without having that. But that being said, I'm very lucky in that we've got the company to a place now where, I don't have to work at the pub and I don't have to pick up event shifts when I have to, because I have been in that place and it's really, really difficult emotionally to like have the emotional capacity to deal with everything you deal with in a hospitality job, because it is like, especially as quite a sort of someone who's not necessarily an extrovert ordinarily, like it's quite draining sometimes having to talk to so many people and all of this. But I think just knowing that even if you have to work in a pub job, even if you can do at least one thing a week to keep that creativity flowing, to keep that advancement in whatever your goal is and where you want to get to with your creativity, if you can just do one thing a week, like it keeps it moving. And I think that's the main thing, like as a creative, to not let yourself be sort of squashed by the jobs you have to do which are non-creative. Or could you even bring creativity into your job you don't want to do in
yeah.
some way? Start a book club amongst your colleagues and stuff like that. But yeah, I've worked the pub job and I've worked in events a lot, and it's exhausting. And I think it's very hard to know sometimes that, you know, you will get past it and you will find yourself in a better place if you just keep maintaining that you are creating something at least once a week.
Yeah.
I think is what I would say.
Thanks, Cathy. Actually, that is reassuring because when people feel that it's too little too much or what have you, at least they know that they're doing something that they love. And so any way in which they can continue to do that, very inspiring. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Really grateful for you.
No, thank
Thank you,
you.
Cathy.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
I'm good.
Violet. She made this happen. Violet made this happen. So thank you, Violet. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank you.
so
It's
much for coming, Cathy.
been a pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure.